What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of From the Logo Podcast. We got ZZ, Gifted, myself, Hayes in the building, and this offseason's been a wild one. We got homecomings. Chris Paul's going back to the Clippers.
Shit.
Dame's going back to Portland. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know we got the title topic. We're talking about which teams and the sleepers in the 2025 season, but I want to start off with some of the odds and ends news that came since the last time we had an episode. And one of the biggest ones, of course, was Dame deciding to go back to Portland. There were some talks of him going to Boston potentially, and Jason Tatum trying to recruit him. They could do the recovery together, come back, go for titles. And ultimately, Dame decided to go back to Portland, where his family is, where he played the majority of his career. Since then, he's come out and said that, he accepted, going to Milwaukee because, he got convinced by his agent and things like that, but basically his heart was never in it. How do you guys feel about Dame going back to Portland?
Woo! I gotta say, man, when I got that, I'm sorry. When I got the report on my phone and I saw the Dame in a photo, I'm sorry, not a Photoshop, because Dame was actually a Portland Trailblazer. When I saw that picture, I was like, wow. For me, he's going to get a lot of slander because it's going to look like he ran away from overall expectations, which he kind of is doing in a way. But I think the funny part is this team has a chance to grow into being the best Portland team he's ever played for. I would say talent-wise. But I do think he made the right decision because it's like, bro, if he goes to the Bucks, can't go there anymore, right? But all these other teams that are trying to contend and win, and he doesn't win, they're going to kill him anyway. You go to Portland, guaranteed money. They probably offered him the best contract of any team, I would think, plus a no-trade clause. I can promise you wholeheartedly, no one else is getting a no-trade clause in the NBA but Damian Lillard in that spot. If he goes to, I don't know, Boston, Phoenix, wherever he goes, they would not be offering him a 3-year deal with a no-trade clause. That is solely because of what he contributed to Portland. That is them trying to do right by him. So I like it. I think it's pretty good for his overall arc as a career. And if he's able to come back stronger, this young team could really be good next to him. I don't know how competitive they'll be in 2 or 3 years to try to actually go out there and win a title. But I think personally he made the correct choice for him. I do believe that.
I agree with the last point because to me, I laughed. I had to double look at my phone to make sure I wasn't, losing my marbles and shit. But when I first saw it, I was like, it makes sense. Like at first, when that first wave of what the hell is he going back to Portland went over me, the second wave was like, you know what? He didn't really want to leave Portland. It's not like he was out here demanding to be traded in his prime years. So when he left, it wasn't like Portland fans would know that it was not like a situation in which he forced his way out or anything like that. His hand was essentially kind of forced. Can y'all hear me a little bit better now? Is that good?
Yeah.
So
good now. All right.
So anyway, the thing that really gets me about this is that it's a 3-year, $42 million deal. So that's what he went from 50+ million to 14 million, if my math's correct, or something like that, a year. Which for a player like him that's recovering from an injury as severe as his, it makes sense. It's all built in stability. That is what this deal means to me. It's a situation in which Dame, like I said earlier, did not want to leave Portland, but was kind of pushed out because his era was kind of over with. It's a damn shame that the Dame era in Portland ended faster than Joel's era, which has run for damn near a decade now. But it is what it is. Dame looked at the situation in Milwaukee, and like Gifted said, it's championship or bust. It isn't second round or bust. It isn't Eastern Conference Finals or bust. That's what the whole aura surrounding him and Giannis was. That failed. Now he's back in Portland, a place, like I said, he has stability in, knowing that, because apparently the reports, I don't know if y'all saw, Milwaukee declined Dame flying back to Portland to be with his family throughout his rehab. So if those reports are true, then that's a no-no with Dame. You don't play with that nigga about his family. And you damn sure don't play with that nigga about Portland. So Milwaukee fucked around, found out, and went ahead and sent him away.
I thought the reasoning behind that is because they were going to trade him. I could be wrong about that, but
I don't know, because like to me, when players get traded when they're injured, it's not necessarily like it's a impossible feat, but it's one of those things that can surprise you depending on the player that gets traded. Like, for example, when Jamal Murray went down in 2022 in the regular season against the Warriors, I remember looking at the TV, seeing the close-up of him on camera, basically thinking that his career with the Denver Nuggets might come to an end because of the injury. It took Michael Malone coming out a couple months later saying, in that moment, I told him, you're with us. We got you. Don't worry about it. Klay Thompson tearing his Achilles or MCL right before he was about to get a payday, but still getting paid. Like, certain situations, depending on the context, you'll be straight or you won't. When the Philadelphia 76ers with James Harden got eliminated, Daryl Morey told everybody that niggas' jobs was secured, from Doc Rivers to James Harden getting paid. None of that shit played out the way that he said, but it is what it is. Like, so when Dame got traded, I'm sitting here saying, ain't he hurt? But then again, Giannis and the uncertainty of their championship, dreams and aspirations. Also, given the fact that next season in the Eastern Conference is literally up for grabs, the Bucks felt like, okay, look, we gotta appease Giannis before we worry about making shit right with Dame. It is what it is. It's a business. But Dame's probably never going anywhere again until he hangs them shoes up, because he, like you said, get the no trade clause. He got his money. He can stay with his family. And the thing is, with the expectations part, low expectations means that you could overachieve one more time, like you did in 2019 when you made the Western Conference Finals. It was enough to get you in Steph Curry conversations for the rest of the summer. But after that, shit, that nigga went back into, trickling down the tier list. But now there's no expectations. Like you said, this could be the best talent he's had around him since that 2019 team. Of course, we're going to have to wait for him to get healthy, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when he gets back. I don't have any expectations for this team other than Dame is about to ride off into the sunset as a trailblazer. That's it. So we'll see.
I think that this, like, not only is Dame, it's basically a 1-year deal, right? Because, like, he's not coming back this year. They already announced he's not coming back this year, but he's going to get paid. And then he has a player option in the third year of the deal. So technically, he's only playing one more year in Portland. Could be, but I don't think he's leaving again. I think at this point, it's just, I find it funny that Dame, when he left, right before he left, one of the quotes that he gave was, we don't need any more teenagers. Now he's coming to a team with even more teenagers on it than when he left, and they're probably in a better place for it, right? Like, they're in a better place for it. So, I'm glad to hear that Scoot is excited about Dame coming back there too, because Scoot Henderson may need some of that mentorship, because Lord knows he's been up and down so far in his career. So it's one of those feel-good stories. I'm glad Dame's going back to Portland. I'm glad he's going back to be with his family, and that just eliminates another thing he has to worry about while he's rehabbing. And we'll see what happens with it. We'll rediscuss this in a year after seeing how the Portland Trail Blazers do this season, and they get to add a Dame Lillard next season. We'll see where they stand at. The other player returning home, though, is Chris Paul. Now, we all know this is probably Chris Paul's final season. He's basically said it. He gets to go back to L.A. for one more year. How you guys feeling?
Wow, man.
Honest. I saw somebody say that the Clippers have no excuse. I think it was Real Talk. Shout out Real Talk. He said that they don't have any excuse. And that's one way to look at it when you're looking at this team on paper. Because if any of y'all could pull up the roster, like the confirmed roster as of right now, and just read off the names to me. And then I'm gonna pose a question to the chat and then you two. Reading off those names, where do you put the Clippers next season in terms of the standings? And then, of course, then we'll get into postseason runs and all that shit. But the reason I'm not, if you're thinking that I'm being sarcastic, is because I am. The Clippers ain't got a shot for shit. I don't care what the team looks like, to be completely honest with you. I don't care. As much as I respect Tyro and Lou, all of these things, I like Kawhi and James Harden and the regular season and all of this thing. I can't put my trust in this team. The Clippers are turning into, for me, this is just me, but I'm looking at the Clippers the same way that I've looked at Philadelphia the last 8 years. With all of these different iterations and all of these different free agent signings and all of these different, let's plug this guy in and see what it just, at the end of the day, the length of your run extends as long as Kawhi Leonard is healthy. That's it. It isn't James Harden. It isn't Chris Paul. It isn't Norman Powell isn't there anymore. But it isn't Zubac. It isn't any of them. It is Kawhi Leonard. If there is no Kawhi Leonard, if he plays 50 games next year, they're done. If he plays 35, they're done. If he plays 58, they're done. If he plays 60, if he manages to make 65, then I might entertain them making it to the second round. But other than that, I don't care. I don't care because they're not better than the Thunder. If they run now, I will say, depending on health, a Nugget series would be interesting. Like it could go 7, could go 6, could go 7, who knows? But I'm not definitively saying I'm putting them over the Nuggets. I'm putting them over the Thunder. I'm putting them over the Rockets. I'm not doing that. I don't care. And I trust Kevin Durant at his old age with his efficiency. The only issue is that they still got a couple more tweaks to make. This Clippers team looks decent on paper, but to be honest, I don't see them higher than a 4 seed. And that's me being generous.
The problem I have with the Clippers is they're really, really, really fucking old. Like, I'm talking about really old. That team is really old. And when you look at the teams that are in the top of the Western Conference, like, those are teams that like to run, they like to push the pace, they like to get out in transition. This is going to be really interesting to see how the Clippers deal with that. And maybe they'll be fine during the regular season. But in the playoffs, I don't know. Like, they can't deal with the pace of the Thunder, the Rockets, the Timberwolves. Like, they better hope that they get a really good matchup. Like, don't let the Grizzlies be better than what we are expecting. Like, it's going to be tough for them to have postseason success. Now, I think that if Kawhi is going to be healthy, they're going to be a really solid regular season team, which we always know that. All James Harden teams are basically really solid regular season teams. I just have mad questions about how that balance is going to work out in the playoffs.
I agree.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that specifically they need to have another guy who could come in and impact the game the way Chris Paul can. Obviously, last year, so it makes a ton of sense for Chris Paul. This is going to probably be his last year in the NBA. Going back to a team that really brought him to, I would say, more popularity from his younger days. That team was still like a very, very impactful team. So him being back there is good. I do think they don't have to rely on him as much because of all of the good players they have. There is a different sense of the oldness to this roster, yes. But I'm kind of with, like, I don't know, man. I like the Clippers, but every year, like, they look very good on paper, this and that. But then when you actually get in the middle of those lines, there's just something that's off about the team. Like, now, Bradley Beal is a pretty good replacement for Norman Powell. To be honest, Powell completely underperformed in the playoffs to a very high degree to where he was getting he got outplayed by Brown, which a lot of people probably would not have expected coming into the playoff series. So I think this team could be good. I think there's still some shifts and changes that have to actually take place to really make a real shift. But there are things that make sense rotation-wise by adding Chris Paul to this team for sure.
We shall see how good the Clippers can be, man. We shall see. I don't know. I look at this team and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Another team was
you're gonna end up dead.
Let's stay in LA. The Lakers. Man, has there been a lot to come out about the Lakers since the last time we've done an episode. A lot to come out about the Lakers. Like LeBron, talking about how they've handled the transition to Luka. It's basically come out that Rob Pelinka and has met with Luka and his team, and Luka's been involved in just about every move they've made this offseason, whereas LeBron kind of has been left on the outside looking in for the first time. Word in LA is that they feel more safe now and secure in that Luka's going to sign a new contract there. Let me ask you guys this. How do you feel not only has the Lakers handled the transition from LeBron to Luka as far as being the primary player they're building around, but also how they've gone about building this team around the strengths and skill set of Luka versus what they did with LeBron?
Well, I mean, for me, like the writing was on the wall, I think, the moment that the Luka trade went down, because the people that were involved in the trade, i.e. Anthony Davis and Max Christie and the pick, but like, if you're a Lakers fan, you're thinking about the future immediately. When the same feeling that you had in 2019 when LeBron showed up, and then thinking about, well, LeBron did say he wants to get Anthony Davis too. Like, you're thinking about the future. Now we're at a point where LeBron is about to be 42 or whatever, and the future is bleak for him. But Luka, you get a player that's literally a carbon copy of LeBron minus the athleticism, clearly minus the athletic and defensive capabilities, but like offensively, in terms of a complete player all around, you got that. You got another one of them ones, and he's younger. And the only thing that you have to do as the front office is appease him. So while we enter the twilight years of LeBron, who could retire this year or next year, the Lakers know this. So they're looking at this and saying, we got a deadline here. We got to meet this deadline so that we can get Luka extended. And then once we get him and to get him comfortable, let's bring him on into the office. You call him La GM, let's call him Luka GM. Let's go ahead and bring him up in here. Let him feel comfortable. Let him feel like he has a voice. Let him feel like he can express concerns about the roster. Like, it's not, and to me, Gifted, I don't know if you feel the same way, but like, it's not like he didn't have the same like opportunities in Dallas, if that makes sense.
Right.
Just based on like, him being the clear franchise player. So any and everything revolves around him, any decision that goes through. It's the same thing here. Now, the Lakers have an ultimatum in which they're going to have to figure out before it's too late as well. And that, my question is, what happens to Dalton Connect, and what happens to Austin Reeves, and what happens to Jackson Hayes, and all the shit. Like, those are the ones that really you're going to have to sit back and look. And if you're going to start making moves to try and potentially get another chip out of the LeBron era, then Reeves and Dalton and Jackson, they got to be on the chopping block. You got to go get something. Now, Mark Williams ended up in, was it Phoenix? Insane, right? Absolutely insane. Now, for Phoenix, based on the fact that they just lost Kevin Durant, based on the fact that last season they had a lot of issues on the glass just because they were trying to get like whatever prime years they could left out of Mason Plumlee. But this team has struggled to find a big man. They know that Devin Booker's the future. They know that's the franchise. And they know that he knows what they need to make that offense work, especially without or substituting Kevin Durant, substituting Bradley Beal eventually. So it's like Phoenix is in the right headspace when it comes to making sure that their franchise player knows that, hey, look, we got you long term. We're looking to coherently build something for you long term. Same thing with Luka Doncic that Lakers are trying to do. So we'll see how it works.
I'm okay. I feel a bit weird for everyone in the chat about this LA team because this is LeBron's alleged last year. I don't believe LeBron is done playing until he turns 45 years of age. I think he wants to run it up as much as he can to make sure no one in his lifetime for sure will touch his NBA record. I think he is trying to run it up as much as possible. So I don't think he's done. But this team is clearly a Luka-led team. The GM and the front office are trying to make moves around him. He's the guy that had to go and recruit new players to come onto this team. And ultimately, this roster just isn't that good. I'm sorry. Dalton Connect had an advantage over many other young players because he was a more seasoned player than a lot of them were. So he looked better than a good crop of those players. But then now, Bronny, who was memed, I was not high on him at all as a prospect. But I did say he could develop. I would just actually want to see him get that time and not get thrown consistently like, oh, look at Bronny. He just give him some time. And he's showing that right now in Summer League, he's killing, even though it's Summer League. So that makes sense. But he looks a lot better than Dalton, and that's a problem. This has specifically lowered the value of Dalton Connect, which, if we keep in mind, was going to be used to get Mark Williams. Didn't work out, so he's still there. But now his value is even lower than that. Yep. So in terms of what they're able to flip that to and how they'll be able to rebound from that as a team, I don't know. And I just think that probably paired with the fact that they lost DFS for nothing, basically. Yep. This just isn't that great of a basketball team. When you look at the top three teams in the West and even the Eastern Conference, I just don't know how good they are going to be. I think a lot of it is going to be based on how good, how dominant a Luka MVP caliber season is and how LeBron is able to hold them through another 82-game year. And I think if that's the same blueprint, we saw how this played out with Anthony Davis and LeBron. when they didn't have the right pieces around them, they had to rely on them so much that they wound up running them into the ground, especially in a more competitive Western Conference where teams that didn't make the playoffs last year are going to be better. The Portland Trailblazers, as we just talked about, are going to be a competitive team in the West, even if they don't even make the play-in. So it's going to be dangerous. I got to see exactly what this shifts out into, but I'm not too keen on where the Lakers are right now, honestly.
I agree. I'm not. And my thing with the Lakers is that, like you said, Luka could very well have an MVP caliber season. Like, even if the roster isn't good enough, if Luka's healthy enough, he can still get them to a 6th seed, 5th seed, maybe, depending on everybody else in the Western Conference and if they stay healthy or not. We'll see. With LeBron, it's like, my thing is, how much is this weighing on LeBron's mental, if at all? Like, what exactly is LeBron James chasing right now? Is he chasing the 5th ring still? Does he feel like they have enough? Does he feel like he can exert enough energy if they don't have enough to get them over some sort of hurdle? Like, I'm wondering how LeBron is feeling, because all the reports that we've seen in the last 8 days have just slowly seemed like the Lakers are trying to push LeBron out the door in some ways.
It's a weird spot. I do think the one thing that they could have going for them is banking on whatever DeAndre Ayton could be. And I know that I'm not very high on him as a player. To me, he has not been a high impact player really since his rookie year. I just don't think he's ever looked wrong year. Sorry about that. The year he went overall with them in the finals after the bubble year year. I don't think he's been as great as that year. I think pairing with Luka basketball wise, he's a very talented play finisher, but his lack of actually trying to see contact is kind of a problem for me. I just want to see how that plays out here. Jake LaRavia, I think, would be a lot of people's responses to what they replaced DFS for, and I think Jake LaRavia can do some cool things here or there, but I question how reliable he's going to be as a player for them. But I mean, they'll try to figure it out. I mean, their style of play is going to be very, 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 here, we have this guy who's going to play at an MVP caliber level. We have another guy who can also comfortably dictate pace, and physically, we have two of the best mismatch hunters in the NBA. That's how we are going to try and win games all the way in and out. And I think they have to try to recapture their defensive magic they had right when AD went down. If they get to that, I think this team can be a lot better than people think. But right now, I'm very much in the middle, I would say.
I agree. I'm also in the middle. To your point about Luka Doncic, bless you. To your point about Luka Doncic and his lack of looking for contact, the only thing that bugs me about Luka's game, and I love Luka. He's literally one of my favorite players in the league. The only thing that bugs me about Luka's game, besides him not playing defense, of course, but everybody knows that, is when he's when he's complaining to the referee, one, and not just when he's complaining to the referee. When he tries to initiate contact, fails to get the whistle, complains to the referee, and doesn't get back on defense. But in the process of that, that's not even the biggest thing for me. It's if you're going to argue a call, if you're going to argue with the refs like Luka does, even Draymond does this, and it's kind of annoying. I need you to be at least an 84, 83% free throw shooter. Luka sometimes be arguing for calls just to make one of the damn free throw shots at the line. LeBron used to do the same thing. Used to piss me off. LeBron would flop though, and it would be different because I'm like, Bron, if unless this is the fourth quarter, you're not making both these free throws straight. Unless Draymond does the same thing, flailing, arguing with officials, and I'm like, what's the point, nigga? You're not Steph Curry from the free throw line. You're not Steve Nash from the free throw line. You're not Kyrie from the free throw line. Kevin Durant from the free throw line. Now those guys, when they argue, I can see why the referees are hesitant to blow the whistle, especially against Steph. They're guaranteeing points at the line anytime that nigga goes. We know that. So that makes sense as to why they just don't want to give Steph 4-point plays as much as they used to 10 years ago. But for Luka and for Luka, like if James Harden's another one. But the difference between James Harden and Luka is he'll make more free throws than Luka. Like he's just a better percentage-wise free throw shooter than Luka. So it makes sense, especially prime Harden. You knew he was making the majority of his free throws. He'd be getting three shots at the line off fouls from the three-point line. Like, but that's my only issue with Luka is like as great of a player as you are, you do not have to whine this much. You're whining so much, and it's the lack of attention on the other side of it, like completely foregoing the transition, completely foregoing the other four Lakers or Mavericks players on the team waiting for him to help rotate. Like that's the only issue that I have. But like you said, we'll see how this Lakers team pans out.
Yeah, I tend to try to give Luka some bail in terms of the year he had because he had so much going on. He got traded. He got hurt like pretty much 3 different times. I think this one will probably be in way better shape than before. And I still think at his best, he's capable of being a neutral defender. Never really great, but overall, he is a negative person on that side of the floor. And I just think that they're like really depending on like they got to get something on both ends from Aiden. Like they have to get the Aiden. And I just think that I haven't seen him in a long time. I think it's very much so a possibility that they can get that from them. They definitely had some moments where, as a unit, they still played very good defense. But capturing that magic for another season is the question for the Lakers. We got to see it again.
Facts.
Yeah. I do want to ask you. So, in terms of the Eastern Conference right now, I want to talk about the Sixers. Because I feel like they're the main team that people are just kind of saying nothing about, and things just keep getting worse. I mean, Paul George got hurt and had to get another surgery again in this offseason. Got hurt in a workout. Like I really feel bad for them because every move they made was to build a good roster. And it's like at every point, the guy that they paid all this money is getting hurt again and again and again and again. And even when he is on the floor, is not approximating that same value that he is being paid. So it puts them in a very weird spot. It feels like the writing is on the wall for Joel. If not this year, then maybe next year. But it just seems very, very tough. I really think that this year matters so much for them because right after this year, all of the great players that we know are going to be back. And the biggest thing to me is a lot of these young teams, this season is going to be their breakout year. So next year, they'll be a more established and even, I would say better force in the Eastern Conference. So to me, you got to use this year as your year. And it feels like they're off to a rough start right now, honestly.
It's more of a, like I look at it and I just say the P in Philadelphia stands for predictable because that's what the team is. If you think about the team as a whole, and this is why I brought them up when I was talking about the Clippers earlier. Like, it's unfortunate when you have a player that at their best, meaning healthy, they're a top 10, top 5 player potentially in basketball, all of these things. And that's how I look at, and most people look at Kawhi when he's healthy and playing a consistent amount of games. There isn't 10 players that you can definitively name when Kawhi is at his best that are better than him. Same thing with Joel Embiid. When they're at their best and they're on the court and they're producing, you can't name 10 players better. In the case of Paul George, you can. But in the same breath, it's like because Paul George was the biggest free agent in the market this time last summer, and teams like the Golden State Warriors and I think Miami was in the mix, the Clippers re-signing him, all of these different things. Where will he end up? And then Philadelphia was the one team to give him close to what he was asking for, right? Now, what that does is, for me as the fan, looking at the player who just got the bag, you need to produce with that bag. I've seen too many instances in which players get paid handsomely for something that they did the season before, and then the very next season, it's almost as if
not the same.
You know what I'm saying? And with Jordan Poole is a prime example of this. I don't know if it was the Draymond punch or whatever, but when Jordan Poole got his bag, I was like, this could be good or bad, because some players get that bag and they get complacent. Other players get that bag and they get worse. And then there's very few that can get that bag and
get better,
higher, right?
Yep.
So with Paul George, it's like I'm looking at that from a standpoint of this is a guy in his early 30s getting over $200 million on a deal in the big year of 2024 at the time, right? So my thought process goes, a player like DeAndre Ayton going to Portland, it's not about the expectation of Portland. It's about the expectation of you who left this destination for
Right.
a bag. And then you as a player, like, what did DeAndre Ayton do in his time in Portland? Anybody in the chat, tell me what he did. Anything that's of remembrance.
It was rough.
Performance in a Portland Trailblazer jersey. Do y'all know what the hell that man did in Portland? Any performance. Nothing. You get nothing. Paul George is in the same boat as DeAndre Ayton, and it's kind of by default because of the limited amount of games that we've seen him, Joel, and Tyrese Maxey play, right? And to top it all off, Gifted, like you said, bro, this or next season, upcoming season, is make or break for not just
It matters.
Joel Embiid, not just for Paul George, but for Philadelphia as a whole. Because if I'm the front office and I'm looking at next year, and first of all, we don't even know if Joel Embiid is Joel is still not medically cleared to compete, for on-court activities. He's still not even medically cleared to compete.
Yep.
76ers in scrimmages or anything like that, which is a problem. Jared McCain, who was gonna be rookie of the year, his injury sucks. But I can guarantee you this: for some reason, I feel like he can make it onto the court quicker than Joel Embiid can. For some reason, he probably won't. But if he did, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised whatsoever. Paul George is in that same boat. When your two best players are both have the knees of brittle, like they can snap on at a fart, it's a problem. And then when you give Paul George all of that money, the expectation for me, like I said, isn't even about Philadelphia making it to the conference finals. It's you, Paul George, proving that you were worth all of this money, and also proving that Steve Ballmer and them boys made the right decision in not paying you. Like, they can live with Kawhi Leonard and his, they're going to just pick their poison on that. But overpaying both of y'all, who, if Kawhi isn't here, we've seen Paul George healthy in play-in situations and in playoff situations, still come up short, still miss late game free throws, still be Demic P. Like, that's the thing. I saw people trying to say out there, like, oh, y'all overrate Paul George because of the bubble. And it's like, nigga, I remember watching the play-in game, if not the next year, then the year after, with no Kawhi and a healthy Paul George. And the storyline going into the game was, well, the Clippers have Paul George, and they still lost because he couldn't make free throws at the end of the game. And he was having a subpar game at that anyway. So the fact that the nigga couldn't make free throws as your star player is fucking insane. And then he still wants to get paid for doing nothing but blow a 3-1 lead and underachieve. And then he goes to Philadelphia, where they're the kings of underachieving in the Eastern Conference. And like Gifted said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to reiterate, this is it for Philadelphia this year, because everybody's looking at the Cavs, the Knicks, and the Sixers as the teams where it's like, okay, Boston isn't going to be the end-all, be-all to the Eastern Conference this year. So if we're being realistic about when we're looking at the rosters and we're thinking about who wants it more and all this shit, Donovan Mitchell and them boys, they're going to be coming back for revenge next year. The New York Knicks are going to be coming back for revenge next year with a new coach in Mike Brown, who's also going to be coming for revenge next year. And Philadelphia is stuck there as the team that, when healthy, you could make an argument that they're the team to beat, but nobody's really paying that close attention to that argument because they know the context and they know what probably is going to end up happening. Paul George and Joel Embiid not being able to cross the finish line for them is one thing. But we've seen this Sixers team, like we saw Tyrese Maxey literally saving them in the postseason where Joel was playing on one leg in the series against the Knicks, saving them, sending games to overtime, dropping 40, 35-point bombs, just doing all of these things where you're questioning if Joel Embiid is still the ringleader of all this shit. Because if this season don't work out, to be completely honest, Joel Embiid era, he's getting exchanged between Joel and Tyrese Maxey. I can see that, because if Joel, let's say Joel doesn't play the 65-game minimum this year, if you're Philadelphia, what are you gonna do? Come to terms with the fact that this nigga can't stay healthy. And then when you come to the terms of that, it's up to you to figure out what you want to do. Look, I saw Damian Lillard get traded after having the worst injury of his entire career. So if Joel Embiid is still, safe in some way, shape, or form, if they underachieve again next season, I'm gonna have a problem with that. I'm genuinely gonna have a problem with that. So we'll see.
I'm hopping in the conversation. I have no idea. I just heard that farts and broken knees is what I walked into. I'm just trying to catch up. That's it.
Yeah, we basically talked about the Lakers and their process and how they lost a couple of pieces and they're kind of just dead in the middle. And then that pivoted to a conversation about the Sixers and how important this year is for them as well, with Paul George's injuries already happening in the offseason, and just like if they can never get right, like how important of a year this is, because the young teams that are going to be good this year are going to probably be great next year. So how much of an important year it is right now to seize this door while it's open?
Yeah, I mean, the 76ers are in a unique place. Like, I like some of the changes that they've made, and I do think that the 76ers roster is finally in a place where you can start seeing a direction if Joel Embiid isn't going to be healthy, where they can start going with Edgecombe and McCain and Maxey and Dembana. I like a lot of those players, and that's even before getting to Quentin Grimes. But those are all guards. Everybody's on the perimeter, so they're going to need to figure out something other than Dembana what to do down there. But which me being back now, y'all ready to switch to the title topic for today, talking about these sleepers? Go ahead.
Before we do, Duke, I see you, my brother. I'm not giving Kawhi Leonard a pass. As a matter of fact, I was one of the ones screaming from the fucking woods back then. Hey, Kawhi blew a 3-1 lead. We just not talking about it. Nah, there's more to the story. The previous year, that nigga was averaging damn near 32 points a game through an entire postseason run that saw him also win Finals MVP while also averaging 30. So that was the previous year. Now, of course, that nigga don't get no pass for blowing no 3-1 lead. We're not saying that. He also had, I think, 8 points in that closeout game. It was terrible. But it was terrible for both of them. The same way that people love to say, well, Kevin Durant blew a 3-1 lead and joined the war. Russ was in that shit too. They both shared equal, terrible shooting splits in closeout games in that series. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? In the case of Kawhi Leonard, though, because he has 2 finals runs, postseason runs, albeit in 2 different roles, but one as the alpha, I look at that and I say, okay, you know what? And we know Kawhi Leonard is literally, on the lower half of his body is plastic damn near. He's getting nicks and he's out for months. It is what it is. Paul George wanting to get a bag after all of this shit for essentially not doing enough as the only player available for them when Kawhi was out. That's what I'm talking about. The nigga wanted a bag for nothing, for a blown 3-1 lead, for missed free throws in a play-in game, and then for another season where they missed the entire postseason. It's like he didn't deserve to get paid. That's my point. If anything, Kawhi would deserve to get paid a little bit more, just based on the fact that when he was available, he was still their best player. In 2023, albeit it was 2 games, that nigga was damn near about to have 40 in back-to-back games against the Suns in the first round. Everybody knows that series would have ended a lot differently had Kawhi stayed in that series, but it is what it is. But that man was going off against Kevin Durant, right? The freshly acquired Kevin Durant could not fuck with Kawhi Leonard when he was healthy in that series. But I digress. It is what it is. I'm not saying that Paul George deserves all of the blame, not even by a little bit. All I'm saying is that for Paul George to walk up to the front office and say, hey, pay me, nigga. And Steve Ballmer be like, what? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
All right, let's transition on. Don't let Duke throw you off. Duke's a master of disruption. I love him though. Like there's no bad things said. Duke is good people.
Duke my boy.
I want to talk about some of these sleepers heading into the season. I want to start off with the Atlanta Hawks. I like a lot of what the Atlanta Hawks did this offseason. Reportedly, the Atlanta Hawks are still having some caution in regards to Trae Young and his extension, and we'll see how that plays out. But they went out and got Kristaps Porzingis. They went out and got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They drafted Asa Newell. I like a lot of the changes that they've made to the roster, and I feel like a lot of the changes and additions that they've made have been focused on defense to try to overcome some of the lack of defense that, of course, you have naturally with Trae Young being your point guard on your team. He's going to get attacked, so you have to have solid defenders from top to bottom because they are going to zero out on him and attack him. If Zachary Richard can take a step. Depending on how Kristaps Porzingis he can stay healthy, I do think this is a team that can make some noise in the East. I'm not ready to say they're going to be a top 4 seed or something in the East, but I do think they can be a dangerous team. How do you guys feel about the Hawks and their chances of being a sleeper in the Eastern Conference next season?
I like the Hawks, man. I've been saying it all off season. I think the Hawks have the best roster they've acquired around Trae Young. Now this is a real phase where we can hold Trae Young to the pressure, put pressure on him as a player to perform. Because a lot of people don't care about what Maxey has done, what I would say even Halliburton. Like, they still think Trae Young is the best talent of a lot of these guards. Well, now he's on a team that is good enough for sure to give themselves a chance to legitimately win. And if that's the case, there should not be any crazy excuses. This is a time to really show what type of player Trae Young is, and I can't wait to see. Now, granted, health matters for all these teams. It matters severely for the Hawks as well. They have a lot of things that are going to be changing with the roster, but this is a team that has a legitimate chance to be a conference finals team out East. I'm excited about the Hawks.
I just hope that they make it higher than the 9th seed. That's it. Like, even if they still squeak into the play-in as the 7th seed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they accomplished a little something. Because my thing is, like, on paper, I'm a fan of Trae Young. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know that. I'm a fan of Trae Young, fan of Dyson, fan of Jalen, fan of KP. But I am concerned with KP because, like, a part of me looks at that, like, move, and I'm thinking to myself, like, the old me would be like, oh, shit, Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, like, they about to tear it up. They about to find some offensive sets, figure something out. But the way that KP had that mysterious illness, whatever, he was out on sabbatical, I don't know. But the more and more mysterious that it got, it made me think, okay, hopefully, you know, go through the entire offseason, because it's not like a situation like in 2024. At least I don't think. He didn't have the same – he had an actual injury in that championship run, right? 2024?
I believe so, yeah.
I believe, yeah. So it wasn't like a situation where we just didn't know what was wrong. That the eeriness in that is weird. So hopefully, you know, all the best. I believe in Trae. Trae's an underdog. What Trae did to New York in 2021 will never be forgotten. Probably by Knicks fans. I remember watching every single game of that series and saying to myself, a player of his stature getting heckled by New Yorkers in a playoff series and to still walk out there and bow out is insane.
Yeah.
En route to an insane Eastern Conference Finals run for himself. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I'll say that I'm optimistic about the Hawks. I don't necessarily, you know, like them that much outside of, you know, Trae Young and a few others, but I'm optimistic because Trae Young as a leader is a very underrated player in today's game. Doesn't get enough credit. So yeah, we'll see what that dirty lollipop do.
Dirty lollipop is crazy.
I mean, it's accurate though. You know exactly what he means when you say it. The visuals are on point. I mean, so I look at it this way. So Cleveland is clearly going to still be top of the Eastern Conference. New York's going to be there. I know Boston's going to be without Tatum, but I still think it's still a well-coached team. I still think Boston can win about 40, 45 games. I'm going to be 100% honest with you next season. Pacers are going to be I've seen people that look really favorably upon, like Nembhard and Neesmith and even Ben Mathurin, and maybe Ben Mathurin can take a step because they're going to rely a lot on him offensively. I got to see it before I believe it. Their front line is questionable as hell. Tyrese Halliburton was so important to the engine of the offense, whether he was scoring or not. He facilitated that offense. So they're going to be a difficult team to kind of figure out. But then I got Detroit, Orlando. I think they're going to be right there fighting over like the 4 and 5 seed next year. Atlanta's going to be somewhere in that mix, that tier below them. I can see Atlanta finally avoiding the play-in. That hopefully, I know that's what they're going to be hoping for, but that's kind of how I look at the Eastern Conference. And everybody under that is all going to be kind of jockeying over like the last 3 spots in the East.
Okay.
The Eastern Conference is going to be a fun one to watch.
I think the East is tough, man.
It is.
We don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, one of the teams I did mention in that is the Orlando Magic. Now, the Magic came into last season. At the beginning of the season, there were tons of expectations based off how they finished the 2023-24 season with 47 wins. Injuries derailed them, all that type of thing. They had injuries all throughout the season. They didn't even have Suggs for the playoffs. They add Desmond Bane. They have a pretty solid, offseason themselves and adding players that all make sense to what they need for that team. I think them getting Jace Richardson in the draft could be exactly what they need off the bench as far as a scorer. It's a lot to put on a rookie, so we'll see how that ends up shaking out. Tyus Jones is a really good acquisition for them, especially on times where Jalen Suggs isn't on the court. How do you guys feel about the ceiling for the Orlando Magic next season?
Should be very high, right? I mean, they have two guys, which some people have consistent arguments over who's better. Mm-hmm. They have Bane. Both of these guys should be healthier this year. If they are, that should obviously, I would say, get you more wins. This team is perennially a top 5 defense. The problem is they've always been a 30th ranked offense. We're praying adding Desmond Bane elevates that, but even beyond Bane, I'm sorry, if you're like the worst offense in the entire NBA, one player doesn't change that from that to, oh, wow, they're top 10. They have to make significant changes in terms of how they play structure-wise to really get the most out of this Desmond Bane acquisition. They also lost some other valuable pieces who could fill in roles on this team, so there's going to be shifts and changes. They really need Anthony Black to hit. They need him to hit. They did everything in their power to keep him. He has to continue to show some growth and changes in this upcoming season for this to have made sense for them. I think there's a good amount of pressure on them because a lot of people think the East is so soft that they think they're going to the finals. I've heard a lot of people say that. So if that's the case, they have to show that they really belong in that conversation to me.
Yeah, I think I'm the most important acquisition they made was Desmond Bane. I like the acquisition of Jones. I'm also very high on Anthony Black just because I've seen games where he really can be the difference maker for them in terms of wins or losses. The only issue I have with this team is, like Gift has alluded to, they could have a top 7 defense and a bottom feeding offense, and you can, like, it's painfully obvious by watching a live Orlando Magic game where you can definitively see in a half court set, you're saying at TV, yeah, they got to be a top 5 defense. And then in a half court set on offense, you're like, God damn, is this another Paolo turnaround fadeaway? Like Franz bringing the ball up the court and then just watching Paolo the entire possession. And then if nothing comes of it, he just drives in. Like that's what their offense is, as basic could possibly be. Mm-hmm. Oh, we have Paolo Banchero. Oh, we have Franz. They're pretty decent with the ball in their hands. They can create for themselves pretty decently. They're not the best playmakers, and we know this, but we still can keep the ball in their hand for about 20 seconds out of a 24-second shot clock. That's bad offense, right?
Yeah.
Almost the equivalent. Like you can't, like it's like they watched, you remember when Harden back in the day when he was with Houston would just dribble the air out of the clock, no matter if he had, good shooters around him. But that offense, before they really had Mike D'Antoni say, all right, look, let's figure out something here, before they got Chris Paul and started actually moving the ball around and flipping it. That's literally why they got Chris Paul, was to keep Harden from dribbling 22 seconds out of the shot clock. And originally they were questioning if it would work, right? 2 ball handlers, 2 ball dominant players, and it worked. They had the best record in basketball. I'm not saying Desmond Bane is going to be that, detrimental to them or helpful. But what I'm saying is that an upgrade from KCP in the form of Desmond Bane, where he may not be to the T of the defender that KCP is, but bro's built like a thumb, so he's good enough to hold his own if he has to be in one-on-one coverage. And then as far as 3-point shooting, the volume, I think, is going to be a huge increase because they got KCP because they did 3-point shooting. And that did not work out at all. He was basically just as bad as he was in his last year in Denver. But literally, getting Desmond Bane now is a younger guy who can still create his own shot, who, if he's like, Desmond Bane can get you 30, if he's hot, or 15. But KCP could get you 22 or more, maybe.
Or 0.
Or 5 if he makes 1 3 and then drives in and get, what I'm saying? Like, that's not what you want if you're looking to try and improve this offense. So I like that. I also think Tyus is a big pickup because he is one of those ones that is a tone setter as a point guard who can also be I'd say he's like a streaky shooter in a way, but in the sense of like,
man, I'm gonna be honest with you, ZZ. That shit sound good. Ty's got something to prove to me this year, man.
okay,
Because
all right.
I was saying all of this about the Sun, like, you know what? Like,
I was
they don't have a
saying-
real point guard. You know what I'm saying? Bill goes to the bench, like it might be good. And he was just not great for a lot of last year. If anything, he should have took the contract DC offered him, and he didn't. And now this is very much so another proving year for him right now.
Yep. I actually, you know what? I'm not gonna take all that spice I just threw on him and tone it down a little bit. All right. Now, Tyus, this can go one or two ways. That's what I would say. This can go one or two ways. All right. You can like Tyus is low-key in the same boat as KCP because the acquisition of him to Phoenix was, like Gifted said, for facilitating point guard responsibilities. So we wouldn't have to see terrible television of Bradley Beal being point guard for the night, because that shit never made any sense. But it is what it is. Cole Anthony, Chilltown, farts is crazy. But he brought up Cole Anthony. That's another guy where I'm like, is this just what we're gonna get with Cole? Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't want to feel like that, but you know, with Desmond Bane coming into the fold and Tyus coming into the fold, be on your P's and Q's, Cole, before you lose your spot. And that's gonna be bad. Because I'd hate to see you.
Cole ain't there no more.
Wait. Where Cole at?
Cole gone.
Yeah, Cole gone. Cole is in Milwaukee now.
Oh, you're right. You know what? I'm thinking of Anthony Black. But you know what? It is what it is. Anthony Black, same thing. Applies to you, my brother. Stay on your P's and Q's. Stay healthy. Be in the lineup. What's the other dude's name? Defender on the team. Injury prone. Start with a J.
Jonathan Isaac.
Jonathan Isaac. Yep. Another guy where it's like, his role.
I agree, Nudie.
How would y'all even describe Jonathan Isaac besides other than a defender?
That's all you need to defend him, because the only other word that comes to mind is injured.
Actually,
I would say per 36.
Per 36.
Okay, per 36.
Because that comes up all the time. Oh my God! Like by the numbers, if he played 36 minutes, he'd be the best defender we've ever seen. Like
I've heard that.
Please retire. Listen, the laziest argument, if you're in an actual basketball conversation,
brother,
the laziest argument that you could possibly have is to bring up per 36. Unless the player plays 32 minutes, don't bring up per 36 to me.
Please.
Please stop it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ZZ. That's just such an irritating thing.
Facts. I agree. 100%. I don't. I think when some people, like Mike Korzimba was one of the first YouTube basketball content creators that I saw where was really using advanced stats and using per 36 and comparing it to other per 36s and all that. And I'm like, yo, what did the nigga average? Like, what did he do? Stop telling me what he could have done if he had more. Like, what are we doing? Like, come on now. But yeah, for the Magic as a whole, because the Eastern Conference is virtually wide open outside of the Cavaliers, and they've made acquisitions that make sense. Like the way I look at it, KCP was a trial run, didn't work out. Now we're going younger, still having the same fundamentals in the player itself at the 2-guard spot for this team, and we'll see how it works. I'm expecting a bigger year from Franz as well, but I don't know because here's the question that I had for y'all. Actually, I just thought of it. With Franz, with Desmond Bane coming into the picture, what does that do for Franz's productivity on the court in terms of him having the ball in his hands? You know, like what do y'all think that does for him?
Ooh, I'm gonna let Hayes go first with that one. That's a breather right there.
Franz is an interesting player. Like if we think about it.
Franz is interesting. Franz is because Franz can do a little bit of everything. And so, like I try to give Franz the benefit of the doubt. Like I don't want to put a cap on Franz, but I think the problem with Franz is that he has these times, and they've become fewer and fewer over his career, which is exactly what you want. But I'm still going to be honest in this criticism. There are times where Franz makes some just big dumbass mistakes, and that's just what it is. Like I don't know. I'm not going to give a whole huge technical term. There are some times when you look at Franz, and if he doesn't have the ball offensively, or if he doesn't know he's getting the ball offensively, I don't know if he's like praying to the gods. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's talking to his ancestors, but there's some times where Franz basketball IQ, if he knows he's not like, and that's why you got to keep Franz involved. And that is what I think, like having a point guard like Tyus in there, and even in Suggs, you know, not him not necessarily looking to do as much scoring helps, because you need to keep Franz involved. And like I said, throughout the criticism, it's gotten better and better throughout his career. So there's no reason not to think that it's going to continue to get better. But I just watch some of those possessions and I look at Franz and I'm just like, hey, bro, if you would have just moved, you could have. Somebody else could have had an open. Move your body. Why are you just standing there looking at the play? That's just something that frustrates me a little bit with.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's the one area that like we really want to see him take more growth into. I think the Franz and the Paolo dynamic is so interesting because ask anyone that's not those players, and they think that one is great, one is trash, and I feel like it's very in between. Paolo to me is easily become one of the most overrated players that I've seen in quite some time, man.
Really?
I think he's overrated to all hell. There's no reason why Paolo is in top 10 conversations, top 15 conversations, when he hasn't done enough so far to even be in those talks outside of, he's 6'8", 6'9". I think people see him and they think he could be LeBron, he could be Carmelo, and it's like, nah, he's Paolo, and that's fine. But like, I think it reaches a point, man. I really, really do. And
I kind of see. Well, when you explained it last week, at first I was like, I don't think. Let me just preface. I don't think Paolo's overrated, but I see Gifted's point in that the conversations that we put him in prematurely can hurt him if he hasn't done anything to be put in those conversations. Like, I get that point. I think I was one of the ones screaming the opposite, that he was underrated.
But listen, I'm sorry, right? Like, even right now in the chat, from JMI, he says the Paolo disrespect is insane. So me saying Paolo is not a top 10 player is disrespectful. Like, this is the shit I be talking about with Paolo, where if you push back to people saying he's a top 10 player, that's disrespectful to them.
Well, no, that's not disrespectful. First of all, if y'all looked at I don't know if y'all got a chance to, we should have made that. Maybe we'll do that next week. Bleacher Report's top 100.
Yeah, we should. We
ain't even talking Bleacher Report top 100. Because
that has to be the whole episode.
Yeah.
Because the fact that Jimmy Butler is ranked above players that have won titles. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like, I think he's rated above Bill Walton. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
Hey,
Rest in peace, Bill, because that's crazy.
I mean, the player was special, bro.
He's ranked above Clay and Dre.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I'm just anyway, not to get sidetracked, but I did see a comment here that I wanted to answer. So, and this kind of highlights the thing about Per 36. The Tribal, is that what it is? Says Rockets used Per 36 for Thunder Harden. Were they wrong? Well, the thing is that he played 31 minutes the season before they traded for him, had a usage rate of 20%. Those are where you can have a legitimate argument. The thing with Per 36 is when people take players that play 18 minutes, like, well, Per 36, well, what the fuck? Like, he's clear. That's not the way to use Per 36. So, but yeah, that's what I mean by that. So Per 36 can work when a player's playing already 30-something minutes. Oh, he says I was trolling. All right, that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
Shout out to the Tribal one.
Yeah, shout out to Tribal. But okay, we still got to talk about the Grizzlies. We got a couple minutes here left. How do you feel about the Grizzlies and what they've done with their roster? I like in sending out Desmond Bane, the fact that you got Cedric Coward in this draft to me is so important for if you're going to replace, like, again, he's an older rookie. I like to think older rookies are more ready, but you got KCP there while he is getting ready. I love that part of what they've done there. Brandon Clark's coming back to add some more depth to that team as well. I love the fact that they kept Santi Adama as well. This is a team where it seems like they're trying to motivate Ja. They gave JJJ his extension. They're holding off on Ja because they want to see how things are going to go. How do you feel about the Memphis Grizzlies in the West? Can they be a sleeper in the West this year?
Man, I definitely want to say hell no. And I'm kind of there because Bane was such an important player for them. You signed Jaren Jackson Jr. to a big contract. Now, I'm not going to be like an asshole about it. Like, obviously, he's not that great of a player, but he's a very good player. So fine, right? My thing with it is you don't really make any move to replace Bane. And Jared Jackson got hurt immediately, like an hour after he signed the contract or something like that. He's gonna miss 12 weeks of basketball. So it's like, okay, so now Bane is gone. Jaren is gone. It's just Ja. And Ja is what? Also injury prone. Like this season for them is very much so we're just a machine because year in, year out, they just have a insane front office that just gets shit done. You do have to respect it because they've done it routinely time and time again. So from that perspective, maybe, right? But just as a team fully, like there's so many teams, the Mavericks, the Rockets, the Spurs, like where do they fit in that conversation really?
The first thing that I thought of, Gifted and Hayes, when Hayes said that, was John Morant after they got bounced out by the Thunder and his comments on having them figured out and shit.
Right.
And also hating on them en route to them winning the championship, but it is what it is. Like, Ja's one of those players where it's so weird talking about this team because 3 years ago, 3 years ago, they were a top 4 team in the Western Conference, one of the youngest teams in the Western Conference. Like everything going for the Thunder a year ago, they had going for them then. But the difference is that Ja Morant was the one leading them. And while we can make fun of the Oklahoma City Thunder for, their post-game interviews and acting like children, I'd rather them act like children than fucking YNs, which is what Ja Morant was trying to get them.
Wow.
Wow.
Let's keep it a buck. Let's just keep it a whole buck, all right?
No, YN disrespect, man.
No, I ain't disrespecting him. I ain't trying to die. I'm just saying that Ja Morant lead like I remember the discourse surrounding that team back then was, yes, they're a talented team. Yes, they're young. Yes, they got Ja. Yes, they got Desmond. Yes, they got JJJ. Yes, they got Dylan Brooks at the time, Steven Adams. But the biggest critique I heard, and it still reigns true to today, is that no matter how talented and how young they were, their veteran was Dylan Brooks. That was their veteran.
Correct.
So you're not really going to do much with that. What do the Grizzlies do after getting embarrassed by 40 against the Los Angeles Lakers? They get Dylan up out of there. Now, let's keep in mind, last season, this is the same team that fired Taylor Jenkins when they were the 4th seed in the Western Conference, maybe the 5th seed, one of the two. They were in playoff contention when he got fired. Let's also keep that in mind. So when that happened, my thought process was, so now Taylor Jenkins, him and Ja were like buddy for the longest, right? Like he rode for Ja whenever and however many times he got in trouble.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, now he's gone. Now you let Desmond go. Now we're bringing in KCP, who we just talked about had a kind of shitty year for the Orlando Magic. His responsibilities on this team are kind of probably going to go up on the offensive side, especially if JJJ is going to be out for some time. We'll see. But like Gifted said, there are multiple teams that I will name before I get to Memphis. Dallas, Houston, OKC, Denver, maybe the Lakers, maybe the Warriors. But yeah, I'm not comfortably putting them top 5, even with the acquisitions that they've made. Hopefully things work out for them, but this team has shot themselves in the foot every year since they peaked 3 years ago. Let's be honest. Like let's be honest. And Aura Baker, ain't no Josh shit so fucking long. Ain't none of that. Because them contending as a team and the direction and the path that they were on looked like they were on a yellow brick road, and then they went down another road, and then another road, and now they're down.
Just kept getting hurt on that road.
Yeah, so it's like what are we doing here? You can have faith in them. You must be from Memphis. Congratulations, Glorilla.
Not a single word on Jalen Wells. Okay, so like we're going through
Jalen Wells, nigga, shut your dumb. Go ahead, Gifted. Go ahead. this the shit that be getting on my nerves. Niggas
got mad
names and thinking that they know shit. Come on, Gifted.
Yeah. So like you bringing up Jalen Wells when we are speaking to the larger pieces on this roster first, because for the needle to be moved and like the actual ceiling to be raised, it requires your best players to be the best players, and then for impact players like a Gigi Jackson, like a Jalen Wells to then step up. We're in a situation where the guy who just gave all this money is already going to miss the beginning of the year, and he's not in the Eastern Conference where there's a bunch of teams hurt. He's in a Western Conference with a bunch of teams that are trying to get to it from day one. So losing that advantage at the beginning of the season is going to hurt you if we're going to have a serious conversation about where Memphis ranks. Especially I don't know why that's hard to understand. Defender.
especially if he's their best defender.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that's another thing. You're bringing up Jalen Wells when the best defensive player, the guy that was really carrying the load the entire year from him, who was actually a better player than John Morant was last year for the entirety of the regular season. That guy is gone, and you're mentioning Jalen Wells. Like, I need you to think about the bigger picture, which is the conversation we're trying to have. I don't understand that.
Somebody brought up Zach Edey. Like, yeah, we're gonna shout them boys out and all that shit, but they're not the end all be all to the success of this team, especially more important than Jaren Jackson Jr. So what are we talking about?
I think all these players are very important. I'm just saying there's tiers and levels to it.
Exactly.
If J&J wasn't hurt, I could buy it more. But the fact that he's gonna miss time impacts a lot for me. It does.
And then it's not a situation where, like, and another thing, I'm not trying to act like we're hating on Jalen Wells or even Zach Edey or even GG Jackson. I love GG Jackson. But if we're talking about the mighty Western Conference, which everybody in this chat and their mama knows is a competitive conference, you lose 3 games, it's like losing 7 in the Western Conference straight.
It really ain't. So this must be a Memphis fan in the chat, I'm assuming.
It's got to be, which I understand. Y'all had Marcus Smart at one point, so that's cool. But you're probably vouching for him as well. But we're not downplaying Jalen Wells as much as we're just talking about the importance of health and consistency from the top 2 highest paid players on this team. That's what we're talking about.
But like, again, even this sentence really bothers me. Memphis has been in tougher, and in those situations when Ja wasn't there, they had Bane, they had their best defensive player, and they had depth, right? When Jaren wasn't there, they had Bane and they had Ja, right? Like, they had some combination of the two. 2 of them are going to be gone by default from day 1 of the regular season.
Yeah.
With the last one being an injury-prone guy that, quite frankly, hasn't looked like his true self for a while. So like, I don't see what's so hard to like have a conversation honestly about that for. I don't get that.
Got motion for real. They ain't here talking about Meg Thee Stallion.
Oh, Meg Thee Stallion in the chat and shit. Yeah,
y'all funny as hell.
A top 5 shooter stamp though.
Hey, Santi Aldama. Yup, we're pinned at. Shout out Santi.
Santi Aldama solid. Think about this. Wasn't Hanson Yang drafted with the Memphis Grizzlies pick?
He wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
Just think about this. Leave that and think about that for a second. Because that's a player that could have been so much exactly what they need as far as helping facilitating stuff like that. But that's a story for another day. I like the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm not as down on them as y'all are. I'm not extremely high on them either. I like what they've done with their roster. I like Cedric Howard with Ja. You guys make very good points as far as like the injuries and everything that are there. And Ja also, like, I think as a whole, this team needs to pray for health because it's something that's going on. And also, GG Jackson, who looked so good his rookie year, could not find footing in his second year. If he can get back looking more like he did in his rookie year in year 3, that's another player that could definitely help them on both sides of the ball. But
absolutely.
To give GG the benefit of the doubt, even in his rookie year, he was like 18, 19, having motion. And then, like Hayes said, the second year he took a dip. But because he's so young, you give him a little bit more leeway. You give him a little bit more time, development time. Like it's not, and I like that you brought that up because the sophomore slump is real. Like that shit is so real. Besides if you're like, going to be an all-time great player or something like that. But like in the last 5-6 years, we've seen it. We've seen it. I still got faith in GG though, for sure. I like his game.
I read a chat from Tiffany. Who's better, Cam Johnson or MPJ? I've heard mixed opinions.
Now look, you got. I'm gonna say MPJ gets the slight edge, not because he's like a better complete 2-way player, but outside of 3-point shooting, he can crash the glass from time to time. Cam Johnson, now. You know what? Let me take that back.
I'm about to say now, I think Cam Johnson's the better player.
Yeah.
If you're talking about 2 years ago, I'll give it to MPJ. But I think now Cam Johnson may be the better player.
Yeah, I'll give it to Cam. I was starting to think about it. I was like, wait, I just went through MPJ. Let's think about Cam. Yeah, Cam might actually have a nigga beat now. Michael Porter Jr.'s back is only getting worse by the hour. So it's like any sort of mobility, like him as a shooter, he might ended up being plugged into a corner if that doesn't like pan out to something that's sustainable, but we'll see. But yeah, I'll give Cam the slight edge right now. MPJ could get it back depending on how this season goes, but we'll see. You got to
I mean, for me, this is like a bad conversation because MPJ's health is going to make me want to take Cam Johnson over him because MPJ has been hurt in pretty much 2 postseasons now, and he has not been the same, I would say, overall productive self. Now, I think Cam Johnson does get kind of overrated. I don't think his offensive ceiling is where MPJ's is, but his floor is considerably higher. He's more reliable on both ends of the ball than MPJ is. I also think than MPJ can have much help me when I look at these things. Plus, he can also put the ball better than man. He's a bit more scalable on more teams than he is. So I would also no, because that's exactly how this conversation goes right now. Like that is why they traded him for Cam Johnson, because he's also has way too much money on his contract.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to MPJ. Like, can he turn it around? Yeah. I mean, he's gonna he's gonna need a sensu bean. That's what he's gonna need. Shout out to Goku. He's gonna need sensu bean.
He got to learn how to dribble. That's my main thing. Everyone's upside with him was so based on his shot, right?
Yeah.
Because they thought he could hang dribble like Kevin Durant, but because he can't really dribble and can't like decently self-create, he never became that player. If he could have done that, we're talking about a completely different player. That's why I still say the like high upside offensive ceiling is better, yes. But as a floor in terms of actually what I'm going to get, Cam Johnson's been better. A little bit.
Yeah.
I like the ceiling to floor comparison you made too. I think his floor is higher. I think offensively he isn't the same player and here's the thing. Eventually we might end up saying is he better than Michael Porter Jr. at his peak? Because this could go one or two ways. Either he goes and the volume, you know what I'm saying, is high and the percentages are back to what they were like 3 years ago, maybe in the regular season for MPJ, or he starts slipping in the percentages. And like Gifted said, if the conversation turns from who is the better talent to who is more reliable, that could be bad for MPJ.
An all-star season for MPJ? All-star season?
I don't see that, but the only way that happens is if part A of what I just said happens. It's like he goes over there.
What happening?
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's the only way. Or if Brooklyn also is in playoff contention by the All-Star break. But
if that's the case, he's not getting it over Cam Thomas. There's no way MPJ is going to be an all-star over Cam Thomas.
Okay.
Who can actually dribble and go get like they double team Cam Thomas, which by the way is a whole other conversation, because there was like a huge uproar because I think Zach Lowe said that the consensus on him is that people think that he is a player that sucks the life out of the ball, this and that empty stats. But it's like legitimately as a scoring threat, they have to send doubles at him. But a lot of it also is that they know he's not going to make the read. So it's a little bit in between. My point is MPJ is that same archetype but can't dribble. So why would I take him as the all-star over Cam Thomas in any conversation? I don't understand.
I feel you on there.
We'll see.
Anything left, fellas, before we get up out of here today?
I'm trying to think of the last. Oh yeah, okay. If you're Bradley Beal, are you taking $14 million less?
I think if you're Bradley Beal, it's time that you look yourself in the mirror and come to terms with where the fuck your career is at this point. Because
I mean, you're getting paid your whole option year. Like, just shut the hell up and cash the check.
Like, bro, you're not winning a championship.
I just took my bread. I'm not gonna lie, bro. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, Brad, for BB, it's like he showed us how you can be paid like superstar money for being an all-star. caliber player. That's what he showed us. Even if you're not an all-star caliber player, you can still get superstar money. Even if you're not a starting player, you can still get superstar money with a no trade clause. Bradley Beal broke the mold, or his agent, I don't know, but broke the mold for what is acceptable for. I'm not calling him a mid-level player, but like players that aren't top 10 players in the league.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's where they broke the mold. And so for me, it's like him getting out of Phoenix. I knew that, first of all, Phoenix making the trade for Bradley Beal was very dumb. It was dumb then. It's dumb now. All it did was put them more in luxury tax hell and did nothing to help improve that team at all. They got swept in the first round. Bradley Beal literally said he'd never been swept in his life and still got swept the game after. And all in all, it just showed you that they have people on this team, like they were about to end up in a season where they were paying $50 million a year to Devin, Kevin, and Bradley. In no way, shape, or form is that going to be enough to be a winning, successful recipe. We know that. Bradley, literally at this point in his career, should just be like Dame is. Dame isn't concerned. I don't think Dame is concerned with money. I don't think he's concerned with pressure right now. He gets to close out his career on his own terms. Bradley Beal needs to understand that he's got his bag. He got a bigger bag than most niggas that average 2 points higher than he did for his career could say that they have for their entire careers. That's where he's at. So it's like, if I'm him, in order to just drift off into the sunset, no pun intended, but do it with your bag, bro. You have none left to prove to us. We know you're still one of the best scorers, like of the last 10 years, I guess, respectfully. But outside of that, it's not moving us. It's not moving anybody. You do not deserve to be getting paid $50 million a year from the good year of our Lord 2025 for the foreseeable future until you retire. That's what it is. So like $14 million a year for Dame, Bradley should be getting $9 million. Flat out. Niggas shouldn't be getting paid more than Damian Lillard. I'm sorry. I don't give a damn. I love Bradley, but the nigga is Mr. Krabs. Like I don't know.
Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs is crazy, bro.
Like, bro, I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Mr. Krabs is kind of wild. But I understand. I follow what you're getting at though, 100%. I know what you're saying. I mean, listen, the Bradley Beal situation just kind of is what it is. I understand why the Clippers did it, right? Like, you got rid of Norman Powell. You're bringing in Bradley Beal to kind of replace that. Instead of having to pay Norman Powell more years, you got Bradley Beal at cheaper for 2 years, which his contract, I think, expires the same time as Kawhi and everybody else. So you've cleared your path there. But like we said with the Clippers team, they're an old fucking team, yo. They're really old. Them and the Golden State Warriors, I'm sure they got to bring up the average age of the Western Conference by like 10 years by themselves, bro. So,
real shit.
We'll see how it shakes out. All that to still lose to the Nuggets is probably what's going to suck about that. Crazy. So, you know, it is. But next week we'll be bringing in that top 100 because we got to get into that because there's so much blasphemy in that, so much that we got to talk about. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this week's From the Logo podcast. You guys know we're here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Fellas, anything to say before we get up out of here?
See y'all next week, man.
See y'all next week. Shout out Duke. Shout out the Tribal One. Shout out the one Memphis fan in the chat with us today. Shout out the whole chat, man. Y'all were great for us. Y'all went from talking about basketball to Megan Thee Stallion and how that's gonna somehow translate to a championship.
I mean, I'll tell you how it translated. Megan to Bradley Beal. It's all cheeks. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys on next week's episode. Peace.
That is crazy. We'll catch y'all.